Without further ado, I'll get started. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Like most interpreters, I'm a bit of a learning junkie. I love learning new things. I, of course, love learning new languages or improving my existing languages. I also like learning all sorts of subject-specific knowledge, so things related to my work like business, agriculture, transport. And I also like learning new skills. And of course, there are lots of theories out there about how to acquire new skills. Probably the most famous one was based on performance theory, and it was developed by a Swedish academic called Professor Anders Ericsson, who works at Florida State University. And Professor Ericsson interviewed many professionals in different fields, people who got to the top of their profession, like professional athletes, musicians, chess players. And from these interviews that he carried out, he came up with this idea of deliberate practice and the theory of the 10,000 hours. So deliberate practice basically means that you practice something constantly and you work on different elements and you try to perfect your skills, and you're always working with an aim. That's what deliberate practice means. And the theory of 10,000 hours means that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in a particular field. Now, most of us want to learn new things, we want to learn new skills, but we don't have 10,000 hours at our disposal. 10,000 hours, just to give you an idea, is the equivalent of 5 years of full-time work. So it's just unrealistic for most people who just want to use this skill to have a hobby, for example, to learn the guitar, to be able to play for friends, or to be able to play their favorite songs, or to, I don't know, learn a new language just to be able to get by when they go on holiday. It's just unrealistic to spend that much time developing your skills. So we can see here there's a problem with the research. And we can also know from our own experience that we've learned how to do things in the past and we haven't spent 10,000 hours on it. So it doesn't really take 10,000 hours to become an expert, to get good at something. It takes 10,000 hours to be the best at this particular skill. I've just realized, oh no, I do have my camera on, sorry. Yes, so, however, this theory of the 10,000 hours is something which has gained ground over time, and it's appeared in popular science and self-help books. And I think it's actually been a bit counterproductive. It's discouraged many people from taking up a new hobby or from trying to learn a new skill. They just think, oh, well, I don't have 10,000 hours, so how am I ever going to learn this? How am I ever going to get good? And they just give up before they even start. However, there is other research in the area of skills acquisition, um, which has taken a different approach to Professor Ericsson. They've looked at people who are just good at things, or people who want to get good at things, and they take a group of people and they give them a certain length of time to complete, say, a puzzle. And at the beginning, it takes the person an awful long time to get good at this puzzle because they don't know what they're doing. And then gradually, over time, the length of time it takes them to complete the puzzle is much less. They practice and they get better, and they actually get better over quite a short period of time. The early part of our practice is actually incredibly efficient. People get good at things just by doing a little bit of practice. So this is all part of the famous learning curve. The learning curve is very steep at the beginning, and then it's followed by a plateau phase. And at the plateau phase, it's incredibly hard to improve. So that's why it takes so long to get to an expert level in something. The remaining hours are spent really honing that skill. But we actually make most progress at the beginning. And a lot of experts say that to get good at something, you really only need to spend about 20 hours on it. But you need to spend 20 hours being very focused on that practice, doing deliberate practice, trying to get better. Now, 20 hours is manageable for most of us. 20 hours is 45 minutes of practice per day for about a month. So we're not talking about a lot of time here. And some experts have put together a method to follow in order to get good at skills. And there are 4 main methods, and I'll share them with you now. So the first one is to realize that all skills can be broken down into sub-skills. So if you want to get good at doing something, you're not actually getting good at one thing, you're getting good at lots of different mini skills, and that forms the bigger skill. So what you need to do is decide what you want to do, and then break that skill into pieces and get good at those different elements. The second tip is to get to a good enough level, try to get to a proficient enough level where you can correct yourself. So you can use books, you can use videos, learn enough, and then think, oh no, I'm not doing that right. I need to correct what I'm doing. However, there's a little caveat with this. You shouldn't try to learn a certain amount. You shouldn't try to collect all these books and all this knowledge and not actually work on the skill. You need to make sure you're working on the skill and learning about the skill itself to be able to self-correct. Some people use all this preparatory phase to actually procrastinate and not actually learn the skill at hand. Then the third tip is to remove all distractions in your life. So when you're practicing, make sure you're focused on the task and that you're only doing that. You're not watching TV, you're not chatting with friends, you're not surfing on the internet, you're just focusing on the skill. And the fourth tip is incredibly important. Learning something is a very emotional experience, and you need to make sure that you remove any emotional barriers that you have to learning. So as adults, when we learn something, we're afraid of feeling stupid or feeling like a failure. And often this emotional barrier gets in the way of the actual learning process. So those are my tips, and that's some of the research that I've found out. Now I encourage you to go out and learn a new skill. After all, it only takes 20 hours and not 10,000 hours. Good luck to you all.